Okay, so we're going to talk about motion. That's going to be our next unit. And the definition of motion is a change in position. Motion can be measured in both scalar and vector values or units. Scalar units have just magnitude or size, and vector units has both magnitude or size and direction. Again, measurement that has only magnitude is a scalar measurement. Examples of scalar measurements are distance, speed, time, length, power, energy, work. There's a couple of others that are there. And distance, which we'll talk about today, is a scalar measurement. Vector measurements have both magnitude, which is size, and direction. Examples are displacement, velocity, acceleration, force, weight, friction, momentum. So whereas 25 or 29 miles per hour as a speed is a scalar measurement, 29 miles per hour north is a vector measurement because it says not only the size or the speed, but also in which direction you would be traveling. Again, vectors have both direction and magnitude. Today we're going to focus mostly on distance and displacement and the difference between the two. Distance we're all familiar with. Distance is the total length of the path that two objects travel. So it doesn't really matter if you go directly or if you go roundabout, it's the entire trip. Whereas displacement is the shortest length between the object's start and end point. So it is a direct path. So if you notice, if you started here at the green bubble and you traveled to the yellow bubble and then back to the red bubble, your distance is going to be the 2 meters that you got to the red and then another 3 meters, or excuse me, the 5 meters that you got to the yellow and then the 3 meters back to the red. So the distance will give you a total of 8, whereas your displacement is just the most direct path from start to finish, and so your displacement is just 2 meters. Okay. All right, so displacement is the measure of how far an object travels from where it started, and it is denoted with a D with either the line or often the arrow over top of it. So if you have a D by itself, you're going to be talking about distance, but if you have this D with the arrow atop, it is going to be looking for displacement. Notice that this is a compass rose and it says north, south, east, west. Remember, never eat soggy waffles. Again, this direction between north and east would be northeast. This direction between south and east would be southeast, southwest, northwest. And those are all examples of direction. Displacement only recognizes the distance from beginning to end, not the entire path, which again we've said. So if you notice in this picture, the distance is all roundabout in this blue path, whereas the displacement is a direct route from A to B. This one also gives you another example, a very common example of a triangular displacement. And so if you look at the path that they would walk, they would go 4 meters to the first tree and then 3 meters home, whereas the displacement would just be 5 meters. Most of you will recognize this as a right triangle, and we would solve the equation for the displacement using Pythagorean theorem, which was a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Okay, or you might also recognize this as a 3, 4, 5 triangle. But remember, displacement is a vector and it has to have direction. So if you say this is east and this is north, our displacement would actually be northeast, because that would be the direction that we are traveling. Okay, we also use positive and negative signs when talking about displacement. Again, think of your coordinate plane where you have positive quadrant, the negative positive quadrant, the negative quadrant, and the positive negative quadrant. We would say that north is a positive measurement or positive vector. We would say that east is a positive vector. We would say that south is a negative vector, and we would say that west is also a negative vector. Okay, and that would help us with our direction. Okay. All right. So once you filled in your notes, make sure that you go into Google Classroom and complete the day one distance and displacement packet. It's pretty simple, but it's a little bit lengthy. So make sure you have a few minutes when you sit down to do it. Full credit if it's completed on or before 8 a.m., which is tomorrow, Tuesday, January 5th, 2021. Half credit for the next day. And then, of course, no credit after Wednesday when I will be posting the answer key. Okay. Let me know if you have any questions.